Hello, we're here with National Master Ilya Krasik, the assistant manager of the Boston Blitz. This is FM Mike Klein reporting for the U.S. Chess League. Ilya, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, thank you. Where are we finding you right now? What's your location?
I'm actually located. Well, I live in Massachusetts, near Boston area, but right now I'm in Providence at the Chess Master Connections Chess Academy, where Jorge and I teach the local chess talent.
Okay, sounds great. Now, you've played all 8 seasons for the U.S. Chess League. You've seen a lot of the growth of the league. Has anybody else on your team done that?
Actually, it's only me and my friend Eugene Perlstein. We're the only two remaining Boston Blitz members.
Okay. Now, you've been one of the most active bloggers and commenters for the U.S. Chess League. How many hours per week do you think you spend writing about, thinking about, or playing in the league?
It's a very good question, Mike. I think right now I'm actually spending more time just because I'm doing it in the capacity of a manager. I used to have quite a few uh, blogging sites that I was doing, but that was more as a player, and I was just having fun. It's kind of personal, goofy way to just spread the word about the league. And I felt that this is like my role to kind of popularize the league and make it more fun, make people more interested, less indifferent about what's going on. And there was quite a few different other USCL people that were doing that. But right now, I'm doing it more as a manager. So I'm doing the Facebook page that we have, and we're also going to start doing some stuff on chess.com.
Yes, in some of the previous years, you've had a lot of interesting topics discussed, and it's raised a lot of discussion back and forth. We'll say. I was reading a previous interview of yours, and you claimed that interview that you were perceived as conceited. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there might have been some perception out there, but I think people who know me and know who I am, I think they know that actually I'm very, very humble and I'm very down to earth and kind of very very real, so to speak. But sometimes when you're looking over to somebody over the internet, you may get different ideas.
Okay, we'll put it to a quick test. Do you know your lifetime record in the U.S. Chess League?
It's close to 50%. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's about 50%, I believe.
Yeah, I think I calculated about 24 and a half out of 50, so maybe you'll get back to 50% this year, but it's a
Thanks,
respectable
Mike.
mark. Now, you've twice won Game of the Week. What was your favorite game you've ever played in the U.S. Chess League? Was it one of those games or perhaps a different one?
Um, I mean, the game where I beat FM Improvement. I mean, that was definitely one of the most memorable games because it generated a lot of discussions, and I sacrificed a rook in that game. Maybe I didn't even have to do it, but it was quite an interesting game because I was a crazy position. Uh, I messed it up. I went into an equal end game, and then I sort of had to I play him again. So I had to kind of win this game twice. So that's definitely a memorable game. The other game of the week that I had was 2 years ago, I believe, and that game was there's a lot of serious preparation involved, and I did my homework. I actually wrote an article about it where I thanked Grandmaster Ehrenberg for doing the analysis that eventually I used to beat his own teammate. But there were some other games. It's hard to kind of pinpoint all of them right now. There was even games that I lost that were quite memorable.
And how about what would you regard as the most exciting game played by anybody in the league at any time?
Uh, ooh, that's a tough question. There's so many exciting games that are being played. I remember Jorge won a beautiful game against Kulzashevic, I believe. Larry won a beautiful game in the finals when we played Dallas. I think it was the second time we played Dallas. He won. I think he beat Zivanic, if I'm not mistaken, one of those UTD guys. Um, so that was a great game. Esserman has had tremendous games. Also, in the same match, he beat, I believe, Schneider. Beautiful game in the Marshall Gambit in the Slav. Definitely worth checking out that game. Trying to think. There's so many. The league provides so many interesting games. I mean, if I was purely a fan, I think would be tremendous just to watch these games. First of all, a lot of these games are not at the highest level, so you get to see that we're all human, that we make mistakes too. It's not like watching Kramnik against I don't know, Ivanchev or something.
Right,
But there's quite a few good games. I think.
and for those fans that are new to the league, Ilya was referencing in '07 and '08 when they lost to Dallas twice in the finals, but both times in tiebreakers. So I'm sure that came out on the losing end, but it doesn't get much more exciting than that. Now,
Yeah. I mean, we were playing in front of huge crowds in Harvard. I mean, it was a lot of. Even though we lost, I have fond memories of that.
who has your number in the league, either a team or an individual player that you'd really like to get even with this season?
Um, I think statistically, I think Dallas has our number, even though I believe the record is not stated correctly in the statistics. I don't think we have quite as bad a record against them, but that's one team I think that we had really bad record against. Obviously, uh, you know, we play New York almost, usually twice a year. This year once only, but we always, I think, coming out seriously against them, and I think they feel the same way about us. And I think we're -1 match, but we played something like 16 times against New York, so they're big rivals.
Well,
New Jersey, we always play. I mean, individually, I can't recall anybody who's got my number. Uh, but I think maybe what's his name? There's a player on the New York Knights. I think Herman's last name is. I
Matthew
think we have a
Herman.
bad record against him, but I mean, I don't feel like anybody has my number. I think there's so many different matches and there's so many different. You're playing so many different guys and even different boards. It's more about the team aspect. It's not so much about the individual aspect, I think.
Now,
At least for me.
you don't seem to draw too many games. In fact, last season, I don't think you had a single draw in all 8 of your games. Is that because of your style, or is it just because internet chess causes players to play maybe a little more aggressively?
I think you do try to play aggressively because you want to put in a good show. I think also the internet, the time control that we have is pretty crazy. Where you might not have a lot of time left, but you have this increment, so you can't overestimate how much time you have and your opponent as well. Um, it's hard to say. Last year was a crazy year for me because I have a pretty bad record, but out of the games that I lost, I was completely winning most of them, including the first game against New York. I was like +7 maybe, and some other games against Will Fisher, I was a dead equal position where he was just shuffling back and forth, and I decided I was going to try to win because I felt like I had no risk and ended up losing. I mean, we ended up. I think they didn't change the overall result, but there was quite a few painful games that last year. I definitely feel like I should have scored a lot higher. And if you look at those games, I think you will come to the same conclusion.
And I'm curious, since you're a USCL lifer, what would you change about the league if you could?
Uh, what would I change about the league? You're asking some tough questions here, Mike.
Maybe the changes are being made this season, the ones that you wanted anyway.
I mean, it's. I mean, I definitely like the idea that we're expanding, that we're attracting new venues and playing, for example, chess.com. Even though it's definitely growing pains at this time, there's definitely some issues with the site itself. But it's a huge site, and we're opening ourselves up to a big audience out there. So that's definitely positives. I mean, there are all kinds of different suggestions I've made over the years. For example, I told Greg that we should. That the game of the week the loser should also make some money, and eventually Greg listened to me, but usually he just brushes me off with my suggestion.
Well, what are your impressions in the league this year? Have you ever seen an average rating like the Connecticut Dreadnoughts are able to use? I know you guys were edged out by them in week one, but
Yeah,
any
I actually don't think the ratings this year are definitely the highest ever, despite the fact that we're only using the rating list from January to August. So you're not able to use like a junior whose rating was very low a year ago. But despite that, the ratings are very, very strong for most teams because many teams brought in heavy guys with the 2,700 ratings. But as I actually blogged on chess.com, my feeling is that these teams are not so scary because I feel like a 2,700 on board one is for example, like a guy like Jorge, I don't think is scared of a guy like somebody who's 2,700 because 2,700 simply means that you're more active today than a guy who's 2,600. I don't necessarily think that they're stronger. So if your rating is 24 24, let's say 2450, but it's because of the 2700 guys you have at the top. I'm not so afraid of you. If your rating is 2450, but it's because of the underrated juniors, then I think that's something a lot more scary from my standpoint.
So you think the underage juniors are a bigger factor in
A
success of the
lot
team?
bigger factor because I think at the top boards it's very difficult to win. Period. When you're playing against a strong, and it's already been proven this year. Lenderman lost the game against a much lower rated player. Gelashvili did the same. There's been a lot of draws against lower rated players. I think Shore beat somebody. Because when you're 2500, 2600, you know you can make a draw with the 2700, especially if you have what, you know. But in the bottom boards, that's where you're supposed to be scoring. You know, you're supposed to be whacking with the tail, as they say. You know, the
Right.
boards in four are supposed to be doing the damage.
Well, let's talk about some changes at the top with your team. No Larry C after 7 years, and you've also lost a few of your IMs, Esserman and Vandermortel. What led them not be a part of the team anymore?
I mean, it's hard for me to say. We actually didn't even know where we're gonna play until last minute, because we didn't have a spot and we weren't sure who was going. The team got put together very very late. I mean, I had to really scramble to put this team together, and we asked Larry. He didn't want to play. I'm not sure what the reason was. The maybe financial reasons. I'm not sure. I think the same thing with Mark, but we still have Eugene, we still have Jorge, and we got the Steven Zirk, who is basically a replacement for Mark. And we still have Dennis Shmilov, who is basically IM strength. I think he's 25 something USCL. And we also have Kasim Willamali, he's an FM who recently moved to Boston from Georgia. He's also Mark Esserman's friend. So we got him on the team. So I actually feel like our team is very strong, even though by rating maybe not. But I think our team is very strong, very young team. We also have this guy Misha Videnchuk, who's a freshman at Brandeis University here in Boston. So I feel like our team is actually really, really good, and very friendly. I like everybody who's in the team, and most people are available for most weeks. So I'm really enjoying my time this year. You know.
Yeah, it should be interesting. A lot of new faces. Now, before we close, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You have a very interesting story in how you came to America. It sounds like it was a very heady times back then. Do you care to elaborate?
Absolutely. You're referring to actually my last few days in Russia. I don't know if you
Yeah, if
hear
you
some.
could, I'm familiar, but if you could sum it up a little bit to our listeners in a minute or less, that'd be
Well, I
great.
came basically I came to US in '91. I was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Russia. I studied chess there for a few years, and but when I was leaving, it was actually basically 2 or 3 days after the coup, the August coup in 1991, where they tried to overthrow Gorbachev and tried. It was basically a coup that tried to restore the old Soviet order because it was crumbling. It was clearly crumbling. And when we went to the airport, actually, they told my dad that he can leave, but the kids cannot leave because the visas aren't correct. And of course, it was just a bunch of lies, and we ended up being stuck in the airport for the whole day. And I actually witnessed people bribing officials just so they can get away. There's a lot of people trying to flee Russia at that time. It was kind of chaotic. Um, and my mom was staying behind, so it's kind of very emotional for me because I already said goodbye to her, and then I came back and I said I had to call her and tell her that I'm still here. And eventually, actually 4 days later, we tried again, and this time we actually were able to go, and we came to Boston.
Yeah,
So
very interesting.
yeah,
Well, back to chess. I know you're very outspoken, so I want to give you a chance to make any kind of final predictions. Maybe a first championship for the Blitz, or what would you say?
I say first place championship for the Blitz for sure. And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be playing in this league. I'll tell you that much. I think we can. I think we're definitely competitive enough, and the league has definitely gotten stronger. But I think we have a good shot. I mean, last year we completely blew it against New York, and we were just completely winning, and then we ended up losing on a draw, which can only happen in USCL. But that's what makes it fun, you know. But this year, I think Blitz is going to win it all.
Cool. Well, with 2 straight years of losses in the playoffs due to draw odds, I'm sure you guys have a lot of motivation to try to finish number one in the East. So good luck to you, Ilya. Thanks very much for your time, and we will see the Blitz online. We want to thank our sponsors, PokerStars, the ICC, and Chess.com.
Thank you very much, Mike.